I'd like to welcome everybody to the City Council meeting. I'll be sitting in for Mayor Debbie, who is out of town. We have on our public comment, we have Max Byram. Max, try to keep it within about 3 minutes if you can.
No problem. Just asking for permission to utilize the same space as we have for the last two drive-in concerts. We're hoping to host another one October 3rd. Once again, I felt like it was a great success. We're learning more and more every time, but we really haven't had any problems. We did have a few more people than last time, so we're gonna kind of work on parking a little bit. If anybody was there at the last one, just trying to, get more organized, but I feel like it's been a huge success. The only thing differently we are hoping to do is have fireworks. I've reached out to Jason Ziegler. If I can get enough funds, we hope to do that. I spoke earlier with Tim Tyner about insurance, and he's gonna get back to me. He was kind of saying it's probably gonna be $600 to $700 for a one-time event, or one-day event, insurance, and so it's gonna be pretty contingent on that, whether we'll be able to do it or not, but I was hoping we could at least get permission for what we've been doing, and then I can just communicate with maybe Nick on the insurance side of things and whether we go forward with being able to have the fireworks a part of it this year.
What's the date on this one?
October 3rd, and be a little earlier since it's getting a little colder and darker. It'll be from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'll be sure to fill out a special event permit again for that.
Okay, does the council have any questions for Max?
You seem to be going off without a hitch, so.
Yeah, been really good. And there's a great spot for the fireworks too, back behind there. There's a big open area behind where everything's at. There's a separate driveway we would block off just for Jason and his crew. Jason does a great job, and he's willing to give us a good price. And I think it'd just be a great way to end the year with that. So
What about, it's kind of getting a little dry. Have you taken
that
that
would
into
obviously,
consideration?
yeah. I mean, if it was too dry, we definitely would have to call it. We would definitely probably speak to the fire marshal. I don't know.
I
Is
guess
Chris
the pasture's pretty
Blackledge?
close there.
Blackledge still? Yeah, I would speak with him and make sure that
Okay,
everything's good there.
all right. Any other questions for Max?
Yes.
Go ahead.
How soon would you know anything from Tyner on the insurance and when it would be in effect?
So we are going to make the final decision on the fireworks by the end of the week. And he said he's going to do some calls tomorrow morning. So by Friday is when we plan to make. Yeah, that's when we plan to make the final decision whether we'll have fireworks or not.
Okay.
Tim can turn around the insurance pretty quick. He does it usually the same day for the 4th of July event, so.
Any other comments by the council? All right, do we have a motion to allow this?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to allow a drive-up concert on October 3rd from 6 to 9 p.m. Is this contention with if there is fireworks that we have insurance on these motions?
Yeah, insurance is, I told Max insurance is required.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor? 5. There you go, Max.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have minutes from the previous meeting, appropriations, and lake cabin transfers B42A and I-31. Have you had a chance to look over that information?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor? 5-0, motion passes. Moving right along to old business, Highway 177 highway resurfacing updates. Nick?
So in front of you guys, I gave you guys kind of a timeline of each piece of this project. So that way you guys are aware, as you can see from it's already started, obviously, so the concrete removal and replacement that has to do with the sidewalks will end, should be done by October 5th. Milling and paving will start the 21st and end by October 2nd. Crack sealing will start October 1st, end October 7th. Striping removal will start on October 8th and end on October 9th, and then chip sealing will start on October 12th, end on October 14th, and then they'll restripe everything starting on October 15th and end on the 19th. That's kind of the timeline. I talked to Brady Hestrom was here today, and we went down and looked at the crossings, and the way they marked some of that out didn't follow the drawings, so they were having to redo some of it. So Brady and I, and then the gal that works for BG, we're down there and we remarked some stuff. They didn't allow for slope for the ADA ramps, so it'd been just a big drop off into it, so they have to redo all that. The concrete on the side where they pour by farmers and drovers are gonna have to be removed. They didn't sting it, which is vibrating the concrete to get all the air pockets out of it. It has a bunch of air pockets. I told them that it needed to be redone because it wasn't done correctly. So they're going to tear that out and redo that as well. But we talked to Cody with APAC. He's aware, and he'll make sure it gets taken care of. So, any questions on any of that?
They got the state overseeing that, Nick? Weren't they supposed to have a state?
No, we just have an engineer through BG.
Okay.
So, and when I talked to Brady today, the guy that's supposed to be supervising this, when we met with ECR out of Emporia that's doing the crossings, Bob is the owner of that company. He measured stuff out, he had the drawings, but the guy for APAC was on a conference call while we were going through this, and I don't understand all the drawings, obviously, because I'm not an engineer, but he didn't allow for slope. Everything was in a straight line when they marked it, and they're supposed to be at angles to allow slope and fall and all that stuff, and they didn't include that in there when they marked it. So it won't be at any cost to the city. Brady's aware of that, and so is APAC. So.
Okay. Any other questions for Nick on this particular subject?
Did last week back him up much, or?
Yeah, they were hoping to get some concrete pouring. I think they have 50 working days to get it done. They're wanting to get the concrete done before, obviously, they do the milling and the chip and sealing. So they're hoping, if the weather holds out, they can have it done by the end of next week. So that's the plan anyways right now. So.
Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll move along down the agenda. Next on the old business is the Johnson Company sewer work update.
Okay, Johnson Company's been in town. They went and measured the sewer lines so they can make sure they order the right CIPP, which is a cure in place pipe. Some of that work's going to get completed this year, and then depending on weather, it's really contingent on weather and when it gets cold. Some of it will probably be completed in 2021 as well. So that's the update on that.
These are the 3 sections of sewer line that we approved to have
And then
lined.
manhole rehab, we have some manhole rehab in there too.
Right, so, okay. All right, thank you, Nick. Any other questions for Nick on this subject? Okay, we'll just keep moving right down the list. Next is the North River Extension update.
So I guess if you guys recall, RF Beechner is the contractor on that, and they were supposed to start on October 3rd. KDOT is charging them working days. They charge $750 for every day they don't start. I think they got 15 days to start the project. We finally got correspondence from them today. KDOT and BG Consultants have been reaching out to them since August 3rd. They finally reached out today to us, just wanted to set up a pre-con meeting, but the problem is that they need an SWPPP, which is a stormwater pollution prevention plan. And you have to get that through the state, and that can take up to 30 days. So they haven't submitted that to KDOT. We don't know if they have it or not. The guy from KDOT, Doug, emailed Beechner back and copied all of us on it, saying that we need this before we can have a pre-con meeting. So Beechner hasn't responded, Richard Beechner hasn't responded to that email yet, so I don't know. It's headed towards where it may include the bond, because they're bonded on this, and the bond we may end up hiring a different company. KDOT may hire a different company to come in and complete the project. But it just depends on if he has this stormwater prevention plan or how long it takes him to get it. So They can't really do anything until he's out of working days.
I would recommend to the council that we never hire that firm ever again.
Well, I talked to Brady about it. There's 3 Beechners. You got Richard Beechner, and then you got a son, and then you got an ex-wife. They all are called RF Beechner or some form of Beechner engineering, and they're all the same. They all have the same problem. I guess there was a family feud or something according to what I've been told. But they're all, any project that BG's done with them, they always start late or at the last minute in order to just get the project started.
We should be almost complete probably by now. If
Should be done. Yeah, I think there's 15 working days left. So it's supposed to start, August 3rd was a late start date, because they asked for a later starting date, so they got that. It was supposed to start in July. So that's kind of where that's at. We finally got correspondence. KDOT's been reaching out, and so has BG, and they hadn't got anything until today from them.
Who's the state rep on this that's handling this?
It had Joe Palick and then Doug, I can't think of his last name, but the guy from KDOT's dealing with all of it. So he's keeping track of all the working days. They send me an updated report every week on working days charged, so I know they're being charged.
So it'll be their decision if the engineer is replaced.
Yeah, KDOT handles all that, because it's KDOT money, and KDOT, when they sign that agreement with KDOT, they have to follow KDOT's rules, and KDOT's pretty strict on that money, so.
Any other questions from the council? Alrighty.
All right, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Let's move down to new business. We have a City Lake Committee recommendation on RN1 on pages 37 through 45. Go ahead, James.
Good evening, council members. The City Lake Committee, we met out there at RN1 to look at the sideline boundary extension for a propane tank. Gary and Rebecca Catlin are asking for 16 foot to put a propane tank on their side of the cabin out there. And, you know, from looking at the city code, the boundary extension was set up as a way for people to add to their lots for building, for adding onto their house or cabin, or building a new cabin, or putting up an accessory structure like a garage. The Lake Committee recommends that this sideline boundary be denied and that the propane tank be placed behind the cabin, between the cabin and the road, or on the lot on the other side where between R0 or RN1 has a little bit of room over there to accommodate the propane tank.
Okay. Would the Lake Committee like to be heard?
Well, that was the issue we had, is that the ordinance is clear cut that it's for dwellings and accessory structures only. And the propane tank doesn't meet the criteria for the ordinance. The other thing that we discussed is the future of, and we've approved a lot of these this year. There's been a lot of building going on, obviously, but all of those that have gone through have been for dwellings or accessory structures. The other concern I have personally is, in the event down the road, if we open this up to anything and everything, then when we get ready to do utilities out there, the commons area are going to be smaller and less to work with when that day comes about.
Councilman Berner, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Oh, just page 2 of 3, you know, down there, I think it's page 38, maybe farther down than that, but there's a highlighted section that shows that, that part of the ordinance. Looks like it's page 44.
before I allow the Catlins to come up, any of the other councilmen like to speak on this subject? All right, Councilman Segris.
I would. The area that they're requesting the boundary to be extended on belongs to the city and is part of the recreation area on the top of the City Lake Dam at the south end.
That's the park area that's set aside for a park up there.
To place a propane tank closer to the park area than we've allowed any of the other cabins. Do they know how close it is for Atmos that has gas lines out there? I know there are a number of cabins that have natural gas. Do you have an idea of where their lines extend in relation to this lot?
Are you asking me?
Yes, you're the one requesting to have the propane tank.
Gary, would you mind stepping up to the mic?
Yes, please.
There is no natural gas in that part of our section.
Do you know how close it is to
It's all
your,
the way to the south end.
which is what, K section?
No, it would be R21. It goes by that way now.
Okay, it has crossed over though and is on the R side of the lake. Yes, if it's R21, that's the bottom of the cove.
Yeah, it goes along that way. I don't know that
Okay,
it's in R.
it is available.
It's,
I have no
Maybe the
idea about
color's going away
cost.
from
I
it.
have no idea about cost, but it is available, natural gas is.
we had checked into it and they told us unless there was a certain percentage or whatever, we wouldn't get it through there.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Most, and everybody else through there has a propane tank now
Mhm.
for Total Electric.
Okay, Gary, would you like to present your case?
Yeah, and Becky's gonna. You got a packet here.
I'll wait till he gets those passed around because we would like to have the opportunity to explain why we don't feel like the back of the cabin is an appropriate place or the placement near the sidewalk either. First of all, this cabin has not had heat in it other than a fireplace, and so this is the first time that it's ever had any type of heating for the winter. The first picture that you see here is what's in the file, other than with a few other things that we've written on to show where different things come. If you would look at the structure of RN1 right there in the center, and the second page is actually that enlarged if you would like to see it bigger. But if you look right behind, there are the laterals, and there are two very small little windows there, which is where I believe the recommendation is from the committee to place the propane tank right in there near where the laterals are. If you will notice on the north side, which is where you see that little 9-foot, we have 9 feet, and 10 feet is what you need to be away from the house for a propane tank. So the amount of space that we need is just very minor there. Currently, we take care of all of the grass and land around that. The city does not mow any of that part right there. And so I just really kind of, with this picture, wanted to give you a lay of the land. Over on the south side of it, you see the other possibility where it's being recommended is where it would be very visible from the neighbors, but the sidewalk is the main issue there. And the utilities, the water line, the electricity, and the telephone services all come in from that direction on the south. There's a big electrical pole right back to the back. That kind of little circle thing is kind of where we drive around right now, so we stay away from the laterals for the driveway. I actually think that what I'll do is I want to go ahead and turn it over to Gary at this point, but I really wanted everybody to be able to see kind of the lay of the land and the way the cabin lays and how it extends. If you were to put it up towards the front, that's where it starts sloping. So that's not a good place for you to put a propane tank. So it's pretty flat right back there at the back of the cabin. It's a berm home. So it's kind of built into the hill, and it's sloping just as you come out where that 9-foot extension is, where we'd like to place it.
Quick question.
Yes.
So are you requesting a foot or 16 foot? I think that's the thing, the request was 16 foot, and now you're saying only need a foot.
Well, actually, what we're gonna need is, we have 9 feet, so
Right.
the propane tank's gonna be basically 4 by 8.
Right.
So we'll need 9 and 10, 14 feet roughly, 14 to 15 feet.
Yeah.
Total
From the cabin.
From the cabin.
From
From the
But
cabin.
you, I remember originally when I talked to you that it was 15 foot is how far the propane tank.
You measured
was
out
sit
15 feet, said
from
this
the
good.
cabin, and so
So that's correct.
16 foot would give you a 5-foot easement for any future construction down through there, so that they're not traveling over on the park side also.
What,
What would we need an easement for?
That's what the program.
Let us, we'd like to go ahead with our.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
so we need the 4 feet for the cabin, so 10, 14, we need
Oh, from the-
5 more feet.
Okay,
basically.
5 feet is what you requested. Okay, that's what I was trying to understand.
We're not sure, we thought we were going the path we were supposed to go. We asked for a variance first, was denied, and then we were told basically to come through with this boundary restriction. All we care about is getting on the front page on the left where it says proposed propane tank. There's a tree line there too that would also protect that tank from people hitting it or anything else. And all we want is enough space to put that tank there. Our pipeline from the house comes out on that end as well. If you look at the proposed one that they have here, it's actually sitting on our lateral field. And if you have to move it on out, then it's gonna be sitting out there in the wide open where anybody could hit it.
Is this the lateral field where everybody's been driving on and stuff?
We're not driving on that.
The services on them, they drove all over it, and propane tank was that much
If they did, it wasn't with my instructions.
there. Okay.
But if you notice on your drawing, you have the septic tank right there.
Yeah.
And the lateral, and it's a gravity flow lateral field.
Gary, I got a question.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Looking at your drawing, it looks like when you start towards the lake, you go from 9 up to 25 feet. How far would you have to go, because I'm looking at this
Okay.
elevation, how far would you have to go to meet the criteria? Because this is,
If you start looking at the picture, as that tree line goes, the slope really picks up.
that's what I'm looking at right here. But
Well, that's
I'm
at the
just-
very top where we're wanting to put it, is what you're looking at. If you look towards the, here, Picture. 39.
Side view there.
See how the tree line, how that goes right down the hill?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this picture right here where these flags are, that's where we were hoping to be able to put the tank. And then we have the trees and the sloping right here that it allows us to not be able to do it down here.
Let me start out with too, that we asked the Services Unlimited and Randy Parker, the propane people, to look this over and propose where they thought we should put the septic tank. The gas line, or not the septic, the propane. The gas line has to be trenched into the house. If you'll notice on that picture, here's the gas line coming out of the house. And so we wanted to put the propane tank here. The laterals are back here.
And the air conditioning setup right here.
And the other stuff's on the back, yes. So I don't know which way, we were just wanting to get the placement of the propane tank, whether we have 10 feet, 15 feet, or whatever, wasn't our position. We were just told basically to go the boundary extraction after we were turned down on the first one.
Is that where the lateral goes on?
Yeah, that's where the lateral fields are right there. That area right there where.
So on the, let's go back
You can
to
see the septic tank sits right,
page, okay,
right there. And so the lateral field is somewhere out in this area. We don't know exactly where. And like I said, people then just driving through there, nobody's harmed the laterals and all there.
as you notice in the file, if they would have pulled it, there's a map that shows the laterals coming out from the tank and running through this area right here in the front.
And when we drive and anything, we actually circle around this. We do not drive up in this area, so if people have been driving there, it's not been our recommendation.
But answering Keith, on yours on the slope, you can see how it was on that, and
Yeah.
then plus these trees as it goes down. And our concern on the slope, when we looked at it, was because of winter time, snow and ice, filling that propane, going down to check it.
You could build a pad over there and elevate it on the, where it's starting to drop off.
Well, we were tinning up there at the top. I don't, logically, I don't understand what the problem is with it sitting right there up against our property line and adjacent to basically that tree as a protection. Nobody's driving around there. It's easy to access and easy to fill. There's no utilities. It has to be trenched into the house from there. And the further away you get, the more trenching it is. If you'll look at the other pictures, you'll notice like the south side was the other alternative. It has the water line, the well, a sidewalk you got to cross, the telephone company coming in. There's various pictures of those. And if you start getting further out by the road, in the back, you'll either, and if you'll notice, the property line goes at a sharp angle. So you'll start getting into either our driveway or out by the road. And out by the road is where they come in to access that shelter house.
It shares the entrance to that.
And with the late evening stuff that goes on there on Saturdays and Friday nights, somebody's liable to come out and hit that propane tank sitting out there in the wide open. Whereas they're not going to be anywhere near our house there where we've asked for it.
So it's versus.
The boundary thing may not have been the right way to go. We're just looking for that 4x8 place right there adjacent to our property line.
How big a tank is it, Gary?
500 gallon.
500?
Has to be 10 feet from the structure. If it's 1,000 gallon, it's got to be
15 foot.
1,000 gallon is 15 feet.
Okay, because I think.
500 gallon
you
is
said you need
10 feet.
15 foot from the cabin.
Well, he's got a letter in here, Jamie, so
15 feet from the cabin is what we need to.
Once you get the
We
tank
have
14,
9 feet of
15.
it already, but
Right.
what we're asking for basically is 5 more feet of
If you
16.
just look at what the utility,
We're
sorry.
talking over each other here. Councilman Seegers?
Have you spoken to the propane company and asked them about a
He has
variance
a
to
letter.
their regulations? The reason I ask that is I'm familiar with a number of cabins out at the lake that those propane tanks are not anywhere near 15 feet away from the cabins.
Well, the
Did you ask them for a variance?
Page 3.
No, did you ask them for a variance, was my question.
No, I didn't ask Randy.
My
Randy's,
question,
he's the one that stated we had to be 10 feet out because of the 500 gallon tank.
Okay,
And they were
but
going
you
to
didn't
place
ask
the
for a
tank.
variance.
No. And
Okay,
they were
you're
going to
gonna
place
ask
the
us
tank.
for more property as versus asking the propane company for a variance.
my question to you is that safe? Is that a fire hazard? Do I want to put people that would be in my cabin?
Is it safe putting it closer to a recreational area that is city property? The other question is, this has not been done before that I'm aware of on any of the leaseholds. I have seen leaseholds that have propane tanks on their neighbors' leases with the neighbor's permission, but not boundary extensions to allow to put a propane tank and not a
Well,
structure.
I'm here to
on
tell you,
your
Larry,
property
that
ground.
we don't care if it's a boundary extension, we're just asking for a way to put that tank
Okay.
where we asked.
All right, well, that
Whether
was
it's
my
a
question.
variance
Did you ask
or
for a
whatever.
variance from the
We
gas
were,
company?
we thought,
Because
we
there
were
are
explained
things
to us
out there
to
that
go
are way extremely closer, like 3 foot from the cabin.
What
See
is
that? Well, yeah, it's over there in D section.
oh, well, it may be, but that's not what we want.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, that's not what I asked you. You were wanting to acquire, what you asked us this evening was more property, to put a propane tank on and not a structure, and the property you're asking for is part of the city rec ground out the lake. That's what I have an issue with. Oh, are you, second question, are you intending to live in the cabin?
That's personally,
Yes.
no.
Our children will be spending time in that cabin.
Do you have it listed for sale?
No, we're not intending to.
Okay, that's
list it
fine.
for sale.
What about the rest of the cabins on down the cove line from where this one is? Where's their propane tanks at?
There are various places. Some are right down the side, some are off to the side. I didn't,
Are they?
on my phone,
15
I've got a
foot away
picture
from
of
their
two.
cabins?
Some of them are way back off of their property line without any question, but I didn't bring those pictures in because I didn't want to go.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying is, the city has allowed propane tanks on common grounds. There was no need for anybody to purchase more land.
Well,
But there
we'll
has to
drop
be a
that
good
issue.
reason.
I don't care. I just want to be able to put the 4x8 spot. We were
Okay,
led to
well-
believe that we needed to do the boundary extension to do this.
Okay.
Okay?
I don't believe that was the correct approach for this. I'm sorry.
Okay, so, all right,
So wait,
hold on here, let's calm down, everybody. Any other councilman like to ask Gary or Becky a question here?
I have one question, and this is just a question, I'm not trying to stir the pot or anything either way. But we have allowed leasees to put water wells in the commons that aren't, part of their lease. And would this be considered the same type of thing, I guess would be my question. In other words, have we already set precedent?
I don't think we have. This is, I think,
Is
this
it
is.
not considered part of a utility? It's your gas line.
It's not a utility. I asked you where the utility stopped at and if it was available.
Well, the natural gas, yeah.
Okay, that's a utility. Now, there is nothing that says that you can't put that propane tank 15 foot away from that cabin in any direction from it without purchasing more land that happens to be.
Okay,
on
and
the
we're fine with
recreation
that. I think I've stated that.
center. Okay,
But, no, what he's saying is you can put it anywhere else, but
Yeah, but I
not,
said we're fine with not purchasing more the ground.
yeah, well, the lateral field is not an exception. People run lines underground, telephone, TCT, electrical, everything, every day of the week. A lateral field is not an exception for not being able to run an underground line from a propane tank to a building. It has to enter the building from the outside. It can't enter the building underground.
Yeah, the picture was up there, where they,
and
But that was my point. The items you mentioned that's out there, the other utilities are not a reason to allow more property to be purchased and a tank set closer to property that city has a public interest in.
Council, any other questions? And you're pretty stern on wanting just that piece of ground.
we're not, we just want to be able to put, whether you do a variance, easement, whatever you want to call it, that 4x8 area right there by the tree, by our cabin.
Right.
That's
So like-
14 to 15 feet from our cabin, not the whole swipe or whatever. We
we're not
want,
wanting to add on to the house or anything.
I
Is that
understand
what you were
that,
meaning?
but that's what the
And if you'll-
ordinance, that's what the ordinance is that.
I understand.
That's what you have applied for.
I wish we would have been,
I mean, I was part of that
Told this
negotiation when that
part.
was done. This is
when
really
we were
not-
asked to fill out that application, I wish we'd have been told
Right.
it.
Yeah. And Councilman Segers has brought up looking at a variance from the propane company. Is that something that you might consider looking into?
Well, I can ask him, but I don't want it next to my cabin. I want for safety's sake, I want it the 10 feet out.
And Randy's recommendation is in the email.
He's the propane tank, and there's a letter in the packet there with you. It's the third page from them telling what they recommended, where they wanted it. We went to them first and asked them to put it. They gave us the recommendation. Then we thought they were gonna install it. And I said, wait, has anybody asked the city? So I thought I was doing it right by coming and asking the city instead of just having it set there. Because a lot of the others, I can tell you, they appear like they were just set out there.
And I don't doubt
And
that.
here I am.
don't doubt that.
Here we are going through a hassle,
Yeah, but
But
double
Gary,
time.
I still go back to, and nobody's answered it, how far to the west would you have to go because of the way this lot's running? You're gaining quite a bit of footage, 25 feet in the length of the cabin, which is only 32 feet. So I'm not saying go
We
clear
just
down
wanted
the
to set it
slope.
right here in line with this tree. And there's our inlet going in.
Yeah, I
And that's
understand.
it.
That's
And
not what I'm
At the
questioning.
worst, it's 4 to 5 feet this way. Now, I don't know how 4 to 5 feet is gonna, and that park is way over there.
And what Keith is asking is,
Sorry,
that's okay,
Yeah,
is like down here is
right.
that tree.
Not
is in
saying
the
go
way.
clear down to where you're dealing with all that
Well,
slope, but how far would you have to go to make the clearance necessary on the north
Probably
side?
clear down here
Oh.
because the tree.
well,
You
it's
got 25
25 feet wide at that very bottom end, so
Right.
So
somewhere in between there, it's gotta be
Yeah,
acceptable.
that's what I'm saying. There's gotta be room in there, and if you had to elevate that with a small little retaining wall to level it or
I guess I
whatever,
don't follow what's the difference of it here or here.
you don't lease that.
It's
We're
on
trying to work with you
it's
to
on
keep
your
it on
line.
your lease, but accommodate where you'd like to have it, which is on the north
We'd have to
side.
run the line, I guess, to see how far out here it gets down that way.
But the line, I mean, trenching the
When
line,
Dave asked
and
me, he asked me about it down in here, and I said, no, I didn't want it full view from the lake, and it would be too steep and too slopey. We're still getting slope from coming in here from the propane tank down in here.
well,
It's icy or snow.
sometimes we have to compromise, Gary. We're trying to compromise and make it work for you.
Those tanks surely have some long hoses, because they can't always get right
Oh,
to
they
the
fill
tank.
them, they fill them clear down over the hill.
They can't get right to the tank,
Well, they did a
so.
little trench underground
They-
and run it to the tank.
They gotta get the tank to tie into it. Either way, it's slippery or whatever.
But the fill
Seniors
is what
winter,
you're
it's
talking
just-
about.
this is just what we're asking
The
for.
fill.
The utility.
They got-
Yeah, they have hoses that they park up above and run the hose down to it, so that's not an issue for that.
We can revisit, and see where that point comes to here. I can't tell you now.
Yeah,
We'll take it to a vote here, Gary, but I have the feeling that the council would like for you to put it within your leasehold. But I'll ask for a motion here in a little bit, but I think the council's trying to work with you here to try to come up with a solution where you can do it within your leasehold. And like I say, this would be opening, I don't know if this is opening up a can of worms or not, but would be something we've never done before with this ordinance. We would be doing
Well, I'm not
something.
asking to stay with the boundary thing. We just thought that's what we were supposed to do.
And that was money we put out because that's
We
what we
wouldn't have
were
went
told to
through
do.
with
We
a
wouldn't have done
non-refundable
that.
application had we thought that wasn't, we actually thought in both cases that there was any issue. And we didn't find out on this one until I called Wednesday to ask about it, about some other transfers.
Well, I'm sorry there was confusion on it, but the ordinance is for building new construction.
That part I understand.
Yes. And that's what we're dealing with now. You were turned down once before, now we're into trying to do the variance on buying more land. Again, I'll ask for a motion here, but, I'd rather try to work this out if we
Yeah,
can.
no, I'm not asking to buy more if we can get by with just using the 4 to 8 Ps.
Well,
That's all we're really needing.
you can't, because it's on city land. And so, that's what we're dealing with here, is you're asking to put it on land that's owned by the city of Council Grove. And you just can't do it that way. The only other way is if they will allow you to buy the land. If the council will allow you to buy the land, that is the only way that I see that can be done. And so,
the ordinance prohibits us from really doing that at the moment.
Well, all ordinances allow for variances. And so if the council would want to give a variance on it, you know, I'm just saying that ordinances aren't etched in stone, but I have a feeling that the council is not in favor of doing that, but,
Well, and that's our request, is if we could get a variance.
okay.
That would be
all right.
only 5 feet
Okay.
in that area.
All right, so I think you're clear on that. I don't think we need to keep beating a dead horse here. I'll ask for a motion to approve acquiring, how many feet are we actually asking for?
Okay, are we back to?
Yes, I'm gonna ask for a motion.
How much would we need?
Oh,
Okay, so it's 9 foot, it needs to be 10 foot, and the tank is 4 feet.
we think.
So you need about 15,
About 5
feet?
additional feet.
5 additional,
Okay.
5 feet.
So I'm asking for a motion to allow Becky and Gary Catlin to purchase 5 additional feet to their leasehold. Do I have that
Or was it
motion?
a variance?
Mark I'm confused, I'm sorry, Vince, but
That's okay.
we're not talking about purchase it, we're just talking about being able to.
Gary, there's no way, they'll have to, for this to pass, they're gonna have to allow a variance for the ordinance to allow you to buy that land. Am I correct, lawyer, Mr. Lawyer?
What he's saying is we can't just allow you to set your propane tank on city property. You have to purchase the land in order to set your tank there, is what he's saying.
So we're talking about.
So what he's doing is making.
4, 5 by 8 please, or whatever, is that what you're saying?
The ordinance will not allow you to do this, so I'm asking for a variance of the ordinance to allow you to buy it.
Yeah.
Buy
the full
that
length of the
extra
property.
line.
You bet, you bet.
But
Okay,
that.
go ahead,
that-
Councilman.
But that would mean from that point to the lake, I mean, if they would have to buy a slice. That's what happens when we give a variance for any kind of building. They buy a slice along the side of their property.
Correct.
And so that's what they're asking for here too, is a whole slice clear to the.
Right, we're not gonna just put a little
You can't just put a little thing on it.
thing out there, it's,
Well, and I guess that's what I'm saying, could there be just a little jack? Because the way it angles out, we wouldn't need that whole slice.
It's not permitted.
I don't think it can. James, what do you think on that?
No,
No.
it didn't have to be a little slice down
Yeah.
through there. And really, they need to, they really need 5 foot more than what the propane tank is, that if there's any construction ever done down there for development of that lakefront down there, that they're not traveling on city commons, and then that the city's responsible for cleaning up that,
Are you
whatever happens there.
tell us that nobody travels on city commons for construction?
There's a 5 foot barrier, or a 5 foot easement, where when their structures are put out there for boundary extensions, and the extensions, we have to get 5 foot more than what the drip edge is for easement purposes. So if there's anything that needs to be done
I'm
down
aware of
there
that.
by the lakefront,
I just thought I understood
Yeah.
what you said.
So 10 feet is what you're saying then?
yes, if they need 5 foot strictly for the propane tank, then they need an additional 5 foot for the easement that allows, if they ever want to develop the lakefront down there, they'd be traveling on their lease that way and not on city park there.
Well, the truck isn't gonna go down 5 feet.
So to clarify, by getting the 10 feet, they would, if the council were to approve this variance, they would purchase the additional 10 feet?
Yeah, and it'd be a whole slice down through.
Okay. All right, any other comments from the council? All right, I would ask for that motion. All right, no motion here, Gary, so I would ask that you go to your propane company and see if you can get a variance, either bring it a little closer or see if there's a place to move it on down the hill a little bit where your property widens out so you can put it there. So, okay?
I have a
All right.
question. Were you saying that it could actually be placed on the laterals? Is that what you were saying when you said that?
No, they were discussing the fact that where they would have to run the gas line
Oh, okay.
from the tank, if they had to run it through the lateral field,
Okay.
that's possible.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
And
Clarify what you were saying there.
they do it with fiber optics, they do it with electrical lines. It's happened all over County Grove and all over the city of Lake also.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you for coming. Okay. Lack of motion, we'll move on. And that concludes our old business, or new business. Let's move on to governing comments. We'll start with Councilman Booker.
I do not.
Okay, thank you, Councilman.
I don't have anything.
Okay. We'll just come right down the line. Councilman Wessel.
Well, I'm good tonight, thank you, Mark.
Okay. Councilman Hahn.
Don't have
Well,
anything.
you guys are easy. Councilman Sechrist.
Nothing this evening, sir.
All right, our attorney. All right, Nick.
Got one thing, farmer's market, Deborah Anderson has inquired, so we had the Cedar Riding garage sale coming up, and they're gonna set up the farmer's market. What she has asked is if they could also sell garage sale stuff at the farmer's market. I don't know if you wanna start down that path with that, that's kind of my opinion on it, but you guys need to decide that. They set up right there by the Carnegie
The Carnegie.
building. There, and they're wanting to add garage sale stuff there, while they're selling their stuff for farmer's market.
Okay.
It's the vendors that are already there.
Yes, they're wanting to also sell garage sale stuff during the citywide garage sale.
I personally don't see a problem with that, as long as they're the vendors and it's not other people that are going there to do that.
This citywide garage sale, if I understand it right, is one time a year, isn't it?
Yes.
It is.
Okay, that's what I thought.
All right, so are we kind of are we all kind of together on these feelings? Let's make a motion on it.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion to allow the city market people to go ahead and do yard sale items on this Saturday. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Hahn, second. All those in favor? All right,
I'll let her know.
okay, anything else?
That's it.
Well, then I've talked to Nick today about that we need to get a gate constructed down off of Con Street going into the Riverwalk, and he's working with Jeff to get that constructed. He's gonna look at possibly getting some pricing on stuff from Alexander Artworks and see if we can maybe make it a little bit more decorative and not just a simple gate. I think it would appease the neighborhood where that's at, and it would get it more secure to allow, not people just go down there and do things they shouldn't be doing down there. And then also, I have talked to Nick about this too, that I'd like to push at some point to complete the Belfry Street project that we have on our work schedule. I'm afraid we're gonna lose that corner up there on I guess that's Con and Belfry. That whole edge is just slowly sinking off the side of the hill. And I think we need to get something done there. Plus, there's been another wreck up there, and there's been a couple more of those concrete pillars busted up there that needs to be addressed, so.
And I'll get with Hartman and get a new bid. I think when he originally bid that, when Danny got the bid, it was around 20 or 25,000. I do know with the money that's in infrastructure, we wouldn't be able to do it till 2021
Okay.
in the spring.
There's quite a cavern underneath that.
So-
If you get off the backside and look underneath it, there's quite a cave underneath that street.
But I can get
So-
prices for it.
Okay. All right, well, with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.